Port, we have Ryan FRACE here. Well, welcome back, Ryan. Hope you're enjoying your holidays.
Hey, thanks, Dr. Bill. Yep, it's been good. Thank you very much. Hope you have too.
Oh, yeah. It's been, one of the nice things about not traveling during the holidays and not having done as much shows, I've been doing videos on all the products, but also putting up videos on all of our wellness protocols starting off. Put up about half a dozen so far, and probably a dozen product videos. And I'm constantly getting amazed at new things that I've discovered. In my research on life extension, I found out a couple of things, which I find kind of fascinating. I don't know about some of our products that I learned some new things. For example, one of them is the product called Semethyl. Now, we have it under nitrogen sachet, and our form is, like with most of our nutraceuticals, whether it's CoQ10 Supreme, which is the only non-crystallizing CoQ10, or our products like the Gamma E+. These are the premier top products in their field among even medical doctors in the world. There's nothing to compare to them. Now, our Semethyl is under nitrogen sachets, the same way as our product, which is called Sports Energy Light. We have a new knockoff of that with some other additions that's coming out soon. The Semethyl, I found out, in animal and insect studies, actually does life extension. Were you aware of that? Interesting, hey? Brian, are you still there?
Yeah, I had not heard that, Dr. Bill.
Yeah, it actually has an effect on life extension. So now, what methylation does, and people have to understand this, one of the most dangerous things that happens in your body is a byproduct of abnormal methylation metabolism. Now, methylation is important to make digestive enzymes, myelin sheath on your peripheral and central nervous system. It's necessary for detoxing chemicals. It's one of the major phase 2 enzyme pathways. But it also gets rid of homocysteine and elevated uric acid. Now, you need methylation in order to even complete the processes, for example, to go from tryptophan to serotonin and melatonin. In other words, you can't make a lot of different hormones and so on unless you have methylation present. Now, the methylation pathways are really important in terms of getting rid of homocysteine. And it turns out one of the major factors that causes a thing that we saw Mr. Michael die and Carrie Fisher was congestive heart failure. It turns out stealth levels of homocysteine are probably the major missing ingredients to why these people died. In other words, their particular drug addiction and their poor diet led to a methylation deficiency, and the methylation deficiency led to homocysteine, which is directly cardiotoxic to their heart muscle cells, cardiomyocytes. It's also toxic to brain cells, so it can do bad stuff there. But so let's talk a little bit about Semethyl, why this formula is so powerful. I mean, we start off with the simple ones like BioLVR, activated B6, activated B12, and folic acid. Then we bump up to superfolate, power methyl B12 tablets or orange flavored under the tongue. And then the big guy, which is Semethyl. Tell us about that.
Well, the Semethyl is a powerful formulation. Many people have heard about S-adenomethionine or SAMe, but that's typically just the stuff that can buy is in terracotta tablets. This is a very unique formula that's a powder, a stabilized powder that comes in nitrogen sealed sachets. You can just pour right into your mouth and enhance its ability to be utilized by the body dramatically. And so you're saying that every cell has to methylate. Oftentimes we have a misfiring, and people look at like homocysteine as a measurement of where the misfires occur, and then you do things to support that.
Guess what the major control of gene expression is? It's methylation. Methylation and dysmethylation actually covers and uncovers genes. So if your methylation is screwed up, your gene expression, even development of cancer, is increased in risk. So methylation is a big deal, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's critical. Like you were saying, that this is how our cells function properly, how their motors run, how they protect and code our DNA so that we don't read the wrong parts of the DNA, and so we get this misfiring. And so there's the Semethyl, like you're saying, is a direct way to donate the methyl donors so that you can have an enhanced effect immediately, really. But it also, for a lot of individuals out there, it starts with the foundation of something like Vitamineral Max, which is built with methylated Bs and things that are going to support
that's why you need
methylation.
those across the board coverage, because if you're missing one of those major chinks in that whole machine, not having Vitamineral Max or Minerals Plus, you're going to be in trouble. Now, of course, our drinks, like Life Support, contains a lot of these things. So if you take the drinks, you often can reduce the need for the other things.
Yes, exactly. Love the shakes just because they cover so much ground. I mean, everybody needs to eat, but they often don't have time. They've got plenty of excuses of why they choose something that's not healthy for them. And so this really helps people in a lot of different ways to get the job done.
Yeah, major improvements. Pick out what I call favorite nutraceutical for this time of year. A lot of people are going to drink too much, eat too much. I like glycemics because it's going to block carbohydrates. It's going to keep their blood sugar stable and their insulin stable. And I like diabetoline and berberstatin because this is the time of year where more people pop out and on the other side of January become diabetic. Let's talk about that for a minute. Glycemics, diabetoline, berberstatin, and leptin metabolic, of course, which lowers leptin and insulin resistance. So you reestablish normal appetite control and you lower insulin resistance, which is a major driver not only of obesity and diabetes, but is a driver of inflammatory disease throughout your body, which includes things like osteoarthritis. Most people don't realize the elevated peroxynitrate in your joints is directly dependent on high insulin in your blood. Interesting, hey?
Yeah. This time of year, as you're saying, it's like a giant experiment, of food and drink and stress just from family and travel and who knows what, thinking about the money you spend on holidays. So
I renamed it Stressmas instead of Christmas.
Yeah, Stressmas. and I think that diabetoline is a huge formulation to help control the onslaught of what's going on with blood sugar in our bodies and to make sure that it's disposed of properly, meaning it gets into the cells and utilized as the energy it's designed to be in the first place. The other one, though, that's critical I would look at is Calm Mind. Calm Mind is a really neat powdered formulation that has a very dramatic and quick effect on the body, usually 1 or 2 scoops, and people will notice a significant change in the way that they're feeling, or, this is a very unique one, right, is the cravings they may have for things like carbohydrates, sugars, alcohol, which either this time of year or moving into the new year with a lot of resolutions and things like that, people are like, man, I need to be able to have that help with my willpower and with controlling the way I'm thinking.
Now, the one interesting component of the Calm Mind, which is the myo-inositol, I found out actually the research has shown it's also an anti-aging molecule. That apparently in cell culture it actually reverses the aging process. Interesting.
I think it's a critical, it's one of these critical, nutrients. As we, dig into almost any of them, you realize just how in-depth they really are and how dramatic their effect are on the body. But the myo-inositol certainly is a fascinating one on so many different levels.
One of the things that's going to happen this year is people are going to go on the ski hills. They're going to go traveling. They're going to do sports. Let's say they're going to get into I was watching Fox, and there was this situation where this woman had never exercised heavily before for years, and she got on this thing called Soul Cycle, and it was 1 45-minute period. She started getting rhabdomyolysis, and she had to get enough muscle damage that actually started to destroy her kidneys. Now that can happen actually. Rhabdomyolysis more often occurs with drugs like HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, like Crestor, and I've actually had people call me up while they've taken their first pill within 6 hours. Their muscles are on fire. And in fact, one of them was my wife's brother-in-law, who is a golfing pro. This guy was like a pro even in his middle years, and was head electrical engineer. And he said, my arms and legs are on fire. I can't walk up the stairs. Here's a guy that could probably walk 20 miles. And his cholesterol was high because he's diabetic. He's a type 1 diabetic. And I said, oh, my God, get off that stuff right away. And, of course, we had to give him things to protect him because if you have really bad rhabdomyolysis, you can say goodbye to your kidneys because the proteins will precipitate in the loop of Henle, and your kidneys are gone. And it can be gone really fast. Like in 24 hours, you can lose your kidneys. So a lot of people aren't aware, but they're also going to find out that their bones are crappy. And it's not just women. A lot of men think, well, I can't have that. And they get caught in a pothole or a gopher hole in a golf course and all of a sudden twist their ankle. And somebody says, oh, my God, you broke it. I had another friend this last year, and he's pretty athletic. He's out there running and everything. And he obviously wasn't taking enough stuff to keep his bones going because guys think, well, my bones are good. I'm a guy. Crap on that. Measure twice, cut once, If you do a urine test for deoxypyridinium and pyridinoline subunits of collagen that hold your bone together, 42% of the dry weight of your bone is collagen. Or you did a DEXA bone scan, which I do recommend people get, because it'll actually tell you which areas are weak. If you've got a woman with L4 vertebrae and bilateral surgical neck of hip, if she twists herself or falls with her walker, she's going to break it. She could end up in a striker bed the rest of her days because her bones are too weak. They can't even do a surgical repair to put on an appliance to hold the bone together to have her have a hip at all. And that's pretty bad, isn't it? So the surgeon doesn't even have an option because they don't have enough bone tissue to actually stick something in there to actually surgically repair it. So what I tell people is start off with Bone Generator, MyCell D3, full vitamin K2, and Collagen Max. And I will often add, say, the Nutrimeds, the Hermetis Royal Jelly. But let's talk about this for a minute. A lot of people this time of year are going to go skiing. They're going to start big sport activities, and they're going to break something. And most of them are completely unaware. It doesn't matter, by the way, if you're in your middle or late years. You can be in your 30s or 20s, and if you've been doing bad things in your diet, just like some of these people that are addicted, you can have accelerated aging in a particular tissue, and you can be in real big trouble. Let's say you have an eating disorder. I have seen young girls that are 20 that their bones look like they're eaten by moss. They look at it and say, whoa, man, you've got an 80-year-old bones and you're a 20-year-old model body. And they're skinny, they look good. But you look at their bones, and then they used to say, when you go down the runway, break a leg. Unfortunately, I had a model that I saw many years ago that actually she did. She walked down the runway looking great, just striding, and then snap. All of a sudden, her tibia just snapped. Scary, eh? And she was 20, but she thought it was a big deal to have 300 calories a day. She thought, I'm not touching nothing. This bod's going to look good on the film. Pretty crazy, eh? This is like the malignant opposite of overeating and obesity is, I call underbesity. How's that? Eating so little that you can't maintain a body. Yeah, and it's a big deal. So bones, let's talk about it for a moment. People say, what other form of calcium should you take? Do not eat the White Cliffs of Dover. Don't eat the bone stuff that they have in most of the pharmacies. We've got Bone Generator. It actually is bone crystals with calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, all hydroxyapatite. It has the boron, silica, manganese cofactors. It actually has bone hormones for growing bone, and has the type collagen actually the body needs in order to build up the collagen in bones. So it's a pretty comprehensive formula. And you want to take it about 30 to 45 minutes after your two largest meals when you have maximum alkalinity, because there's only 10 centimeters of the small bowel below your ampulla vata, where the pancreas juices come up from your pancreas, where you absorb minerals. That's it. If you don't get absorbed there, they're not going to get absorbed. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
It's an active transport process. So if you don't understand this physiology, or you've taken proton pump inhibitors because I don't want to get indigestion, or you're taking H2 blockers, bye-bye bones. If you're taking this stuff for years, and you could be a rancher, I like to eat really hot stuff, and I don't want indigestion. Well, you don't want bones either, because you're not going to have them. That's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. People say, no, that can't happen. I said, yeah, it can actually. I said, I'm there like, the emergency guy. Now I'm retired. I'm getting these horror phone calls all over the planet. And they're not just in America. There's stupid doctors everywhere. Stupid pharmacies, stupid marketing plans, stupid drug companies everywhere. They're not just limited to America. For example, Ajinomoto took over the production of aspartame, which we call Rumsfeld disease, because Rumsfeld uses markers through the FDA to actually get it approved, so you get a big, giant kickback. And, of course, that's probably what happened to Ronald Reagan. He had jelly beans on his desk at the Oval Office that were laced with aspartame. So he zapped the brain of Ronald Reagan with his aspartame jelly beans. Believe it or not, that's true. Do you know that? Aspartame jelly beans. He got jelly bean to death, his brain, fried on aspartame jelly beans. And if you don't think diketopiperazine, methyl alcohol, and formaldehyde are bad for you, I got a chemical book and a course for you that you can call me and I will scare you out of your skin. They're not good for you. So, Ryan, what's your next favorite nutraceutical for the holidays? How can you survive what I call Stressmas and the New Year and not get a horrifying disease? Because, by the way, Christmas Day is the most common. I call it cardiac arrest day. I worked in an emergency department on Christmas, so many Christmases, and I can tell you I had the paddles greased up. I was almost ready. They're standing there with the paddles. Yeah, they're coming. They're coming. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of cardiac arrests today, either because their relatives pissed them off, or they ate too much turkey, or they were drinking so much or their heart said, I'm out of here, man. I can't do this. Or, I do not want to suffer another Christmas like this, so I think I'll just die. And they did.
Yeah.
pretty bad, eh? You can actually make a black comedy out of this. Happy, Merry, and Christmas. Yeah. It's for a lot of people. It's their exit plan, and remember that song "I Gave You My Heart," and the next day you gave it away with George Michael. He died of heart failure, and I think it was pretty damn close to Christmas Day. And same with Carrie Fisher. A lot of people are really stressed out, or drug addicts, or major emotional trauma in their life. It's the final straw. So you got to buffer against that. So what's your next favorite?
I think I would go with the Probiomax Ultra, the Living Probiotic Ultra.
Living Probiotic Ultra, the Ultra Living Probiotic Ultra is an interesting product. It's the How Are You strain, and in fact, it's so powerful. And people have to understand what probiotics do. Locally, they get rid of the deconjugating bacteria in your lower bowel. And people have to understand what this is. When I was doing my PhD research back in the 70s, what was interesting is that one of the other biochemists who was in our facility, in our university, he was actually looking at lower bowel deconjugation of toxins that your liver conjugated, and these bad bacteria in your lower bowel were re-releasing them to say, hey, you're a criminal, you're a murderer, you're a rapist, drug or chemical or heavy metal, but we're just going to release you back in the community. In other words, these bacteria were very akin to Obama and Hillary. They say, hey, we know you're a killer, but we're going to re-release you. Have a nice day. Okay? So when you take Living Probiotic Ultra, the How Are You strain, it gets rid of all these guys. These guys get grabbed because these are what I call super cops, like RoboCop. They grab them, they get them out the body, they make sure they don't deconjugate and send the toxin back to your pancreas, your brain, or your breast, or your prostate gland. And that's pretty big. In fact, you can take this and you can go to Haiti and you won't even get dysentery. Isn't that cool? It's so powerful. And not only that, distantly, people that have really powerful probiotics in their lower gut have 1/4 of the incidence of cancer, far easier to control their blood sugar and diabetes, less peripheral neuropathy, better health of their bones, much less vascular disease, and a lot less dementia. So there's a whole range of diseases that are a long way from the bowel that are a heck of a lot better when you're taking the proper, super powerful probiotics. Interesting, isn't it? In fact, there's so many diseases, it's hard to list them all, that are beneficially affected by Living Probiotic and Living Probiotic Ultra. Now, the Living Probiotic, the Result 6 strain, is also in our Ageless, which is one of our drinks. Interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like that about the... they're akin to Obama and Clinton, really releasing the criminals onto the streets, eh? Pretty bad, eh?
Yeah.
My wife says, you could always turn things into politics, can't you, Deagle? I said, yeah, it's one of my talents. One of my talents. Let's see. Okay. Next. People are indoors, they're burning fires, they're doing other things. Allergies. The Allergon Allerblock. Allerblock is natural antihistamine. Most people don't realize most of the drug antihistamines will screw up and interfere with the metabolism of drugs you're taking. And if you're taking drugs that are along with your antihistamine, you can drive your blood level through your ceiling and can be dangerous. We also have Allergon that gets rid of histamine. So, if you have allergies, take our Nutri-Silver, get a little nasal spray tip, which we are going to also have available for you for inserting in your nose. Take the Allerblock and Allergon, and bye-bye. Looking back, one of our first nutraceuticals we launched years ago was Nutri-Trala. It's part of a triad. Do you want to go over that triad and tell people why, for example, when somebody asks me for life extension, some of the components are right here in the triad. Let's go over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The triad, which we have talked about for a long time, but we kind of put it on the shelf for a while. That's so fascinating. But the triad is 3 different products. It's the Nutri-Trala, which is a controlled-release alpha-lipoic acid that's just a game changer. Right. The Anti-Age Max, which is your methylated resveratrol. and then Supernox, which is a nitric oxide generating formulation. But all three of these work in concert with one another. So people that do not have mitochondrial function at its optimal level, meaning your energy production is down, can be a very powerful thing for the people who are kind of like stagnant, and they go, I don't even have enough energy to really get my body moving. I just feel like I'm stuck. Using this in combination with one another can be very profound. And then as people move in and they're even more elite in their athletic nature and stuff like that, this really delivers an enhancement for how the body works. And it's all predicated on the three of these working in concert to elevate the pathway known as PGC1 alpha.
Right.
And so as that goes up, our bodies perform better, and those risks of things like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurodegeneration go down.
Right, and we add that to that our beet juice powder, which we have, but also there's some other we call mitochondrial support formulas we have as well. Nutricella is one of the most important. It's not just for diabetics to lower; it actually recycles all of our antioxidant system. So, I tell people you got to get your body alkaline. For example, to fight most diseases, if your body is acid in your blood or your solid organs, if you could do a scan, I call it a acid or proton scan to look for acidity. I call a Linus Pauling type field ion scanner, and you can actually see the black holes where it's acidic, free radicals are present, and it's basically it's hypoxic. That they call the triad of death. And as soon as you start activating PGC1 alpha, as soon as you add these other nutraceuticals, and we have other ones we can add to that, Sports Energy Light, which increases ATP levels. We've got D-ribose and NADH. We have mitochondrial energy. We have things like the CoQ10 and CoQ10 ubiquinol, our special vascular carnitine. The CoQ10 is the only one in the world. There's nobody else has this that doesn't polymerize. And when I used to have it manufactured at Pencall and other pharmacies, say 30 years ago in Denver, the funny thing was. The pharmacists would tell us, the compounding pharmacists would say, now, you got to tell them this is only good for a month because it polymerizes and it loses all biological action. Now, all of the CoQ10s out there still do this. We have the only one that doesn't polymerize. And what's amazing to me is people are popping these CoQ10 pills. Their cardiologist is often saying, hey, you can take this and you'll be fine on the HMG-CoRe reductase inhibitors that can give you rhabdomyolysis or fry your brain or make your mitochondria go bye-bye and give you chronic fatigue syndrome, but not because their CoQ10 is no damn good. That's interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that combination is really good. Now, I would add a few others to that in terms of anti-aging. Cell Detox Glutathione and Cell Defense Plus, our curcumin product, are really, really important in terms of getting rid of these radicals, free radicals, and Gamma E+. And it's actually pretty straightforward. The main drivers for disease, it's inflammation, it's free radicals, and it's acidity. And if you can turn those off, you can reverse a lot of things. Peripheral neuropathy, diabetes, even obesity is an inflammatory disorder, isn't it?
Correct. It's always everything is an inflammatory disorder, really, when we look at it. It's like smoke building up. It's like, are we efficient at managing how much smoke the engine of our body is producing? Every cell is its own engine, so if we can keep that low, that's good. And so as you talk about free radicals, oxidative stress, all that stuff, you can kind of visualize it as almost smoke building up in your house. Like the lower you can keep the smoke, the longer the house gets to survive. And so when you talk about something like cell defense, there's probably, it would be hard to compare to any other nutrient that's been studied.
Yeah, the two that I would recommend
and how powerful.
To actually mobilize fat, because this is a season to get fatter, is LipoFlush Conjugated Linoleic Acid and Cell Defense Plus, and or Forskolin. Those are the three biggies to convert white fat to brown fat and burn it off. LipoFlush, the most important one, is Cell Defense Plus and Forskolin. LipoFlush, Cell Defense Plus and Forskolin to turn white fat to brown fat and get it out. Try this as a bumper. I said, man, this is good stuff. So, yeah, it kind of says, wake up your brain. There's 3 steps to getting smarter listening to the show. Number 1 step is don't believe anything we say. Ask better questions is number 2. And number 3, once you validate it, you own it, you got to do something with it. Whether it's change your habits and get off the drugs and get nutraceuticals, have a better attitude spiritually about being a good person, a good Christian, taking care of your family in terms of wealth protection like our care powers, realizing that although we've got a good manager now for the country business-wise, Trump, you need to be the Trump of your home. And strong families make a strong nation. I mean, that's what it is. We're the building blocks. We're the, if you want to call it the building blocks. And, of course, you can talk to your relatives and friends and say, look, whether it's a health issue, and it's very often a health issue which kind of really changes things in the family, realize that there's lots of options for you. You don't have to rush into something that's conventional, we call out-of-date and toxic or dangerous medicine. And you also don't want to just select one treatment, let's say chiropractic for something where maybe there's an inflammatory process or a neuropathic process or something else going on. You want to have a comprehensive, we call functional medicine approach to wellness and maintenance of your health. And anti-aging is here. I mean, step by step, we have nutraceuticals or anti-aging, mild hyperbaric oxygen, pulsed magnetic fields like the micropulse, and for pain, the matrix pulse, which you can get through the same link. We have other technologies for what we call epigenetic therapy. We have peptides to stimulate your organs. We can grow stem cells in labs now. Pretty soon, we're going to be able to actually grow 3D printed organs. Pretty amazing. So, Ryan, what's your next favorite nutraceutical?
Oh, well, let's see. I think I would go with... I think I would go with the... I really like the digestive stuff, Dr. Bill. It's one of those things that every time I think about people out there...
If your gut's stabilized, everything else is going to get better, whether it's your joints or your brain or whatever.
Yeah. And so there's so many people. Here we talked about the holidays. We talked about the stress or the cravings or the bad food that you're going to eat. But ongoing, a lot of people they don't feel good when they eat their foods, and they don't get much out of their foods because their body isn't breaking it down properly. So just really quickly, if we start from the top, chewing your food and eating in a stress-free environment is really critical so that you can produce the normal amount of acid to break your food down. But I'd be looking at Digest-Ease, and that formulation of Digest-Ease really helps you to enhance your gastric acid levels so that you make sure you break your food down completely in the stomach and pass it down in the small intestine. Now, how do people know, right, if they need Digest-Ease? Is usually they'll feel after eating, like within an hour and a half of eating, they just don't feel well. They almost feel sick, or it feels like a brick is in their stomach. They just know that something's wrong. That's something to look out for. Then you have something like Gastrozyme. And Gastrozyme is the next step down. If their symptoms are occurring an hour and a half to 2 hours after eating, where you're getting much more of the gas and the bloating, foul-smelling stools, or there's food in the stools, things like that, that's a good sign that you go for enzymes like Gastrozyme, which is 100% vegetarian enzyme formula, but it's extremely powerful, works in a broad pH range. So that is important because oftentimes we've got a messed up GI tract, so our pH is pretty screwed up in the intestinal tract, so the enzymes don't necessarily work like they should. Again, makes the case for why you always start with Digest-Ease. Then you got Gastrozyme. We talked about the probiotics. But I do want to mention a product, the Gastro Heal, as a product that's really, really important because almost, half of the people probably listening at some point are taking some kind of either proton pump inhibiting product, acid blocker, Tums, the Tagamints, all these different kinds of things. And those are really harmful long-term to take. They could be okay as a very, very short-term thing, but you don't even need them with something like Gastro Heal and then doing these other solution steps. But Gastro Heal is critical because it's a zinc carnosine combination that really helps the repair of the epithelial cells. It helps with the digestive process and getting the repair going on so your body can break down food. But at the same time, it's also fantastic at ridding the body of things like H. pylori and helping to just bring down inflammation along the whole digestive tract, including the intestinal tract. And it can, without adding acid, without suppressing acid, it's fascinating at what it can do for all these different issues with gastric symptoms, so that people can move away from being stuck on these acid-inhibiting either drugs or OTC-type products that really set themselves up. Dr. Bill, you and I talk about this a lot, for like that SIBO issue, small intestinal bowel overgrowth, which is really becoming very popular in medical literature as people look back to going, well, why does somebody's body continually trigger an inflammatory response that's now leading to arthritis-type issues or some far-reaching weird thing going on? They can look back and go, well, you've got an overgrowth in your intestinal tract, in the small intestine, and it is just a constant trigger of inflammation. Right. So this can be, it's so weird is you're taking something so benign as thumbs or something like that. But over the years and years, what you've done is you've screwed up the environment to allow the wrong bacteria to live in different parts of your body. It shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
So you can set this stuff all back on track again.
It's not a minor thing. If you get leaky gut, which means the tight junctions in your bowel, and you can go to Dunwoody Labs and do a zonulin test. You can do the lactulose mannitol test through directlabs.com to Genova Labs in Atlanta, which is a simple urine test to see if these two sugars come through. If you do these tests, you can actually say, oh my gosh, Deagle's right. Or a comprehensive digestive stool analysis too through Genova Labs in Atlanta. And you can see that SBO is tied directly to anaerobic metabolism, is tied directly to the development of cancer and autoimmune disease. And another test you can do is a thing called a hydrogen breath test. So if you've got hydrogen in your breath, it means you've got bacteria in your small bowel. It's literally generating hydrogen. I mean, some of these kind of B movies at night where somebody takes a cigarette lighter or a match up to their mouth and goes, pow, and breathes out, and it goes on fire. That's either methane or hydrogen. And the hydrogen breath test tells me you got SIBO, small intestinal bowel overgrowth. And all these people that have SIBO are at really high risk of autoimmune diseases. Ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, they're all tied together. Isn't it amazing? So if your bowel's screwed up, it lays the groundwork for everything else gets screwed up. Interesting, eh?
For sure.
So again, start off the top. Digestes, a tablet before each meal. Gastrozyme, 2 capsules before each meal or snack. Berberstatin to clear the bowel overgrowth. Living probiotic. Results exchanged from the Pasteur Institute. Every third day, Living Probiotic Ultra. You can take Nutrimune immunoglobulins to coat your gut wall and your respiratory tract. That also helps. And you can take colon cleanse. It'll get rid of the plaque in your lower bowel. These things will actually prevent you from re-releasing conjugated toxins in your liver that could give you cancer. And people say, you're kidding. You mean if my bowel screwed up, it's going to give me pancreatic or brain cancer or breast cancer? Yes. And the problem is that people don't see the connection between their bowel being screwed up and getting prostate or breast or pancreatic or brain cancer or lung cancer, because the toxins in their cigarettes are being re-released by the lower bowel. Weird, hey?
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that. I mean,
that is weird.
Have you ever heard that before? They said, no, my doctor didn't ever say that to me. He doesn't know, or she doesn't know. That's not good, is it? That's why I'm trying to put all these in videos, put them all over YouTube and everywhere. Because, to be honest with you, if I had my druthers, there would be 3 things happen to medical doctors. Number 1, you'd never specialize before you did general medicine or internal medicine. Number 2, you'd have to spend an extra 3 years in training learning functional medicine, which would be all these other specialties, including chiropractic, toxicology, immunology, etc. And number 3, we would never pay doctors fee for service. It would all be hourly wages. Because the current system is going to generate a situation where next, and it's going to attract people who are just going to go into medicine and figure they're going to get buco bucks. If you give a decent hourly wage, they're going to make the same money, and you also tie it to no malpractice anymore. You have mediation. If you identify a doctor has a deficiency in an area of their knowledge base, you simply retrain them online, give them a course, say, hey, you're certified, you can't do any hip surgeries until you go back to a surgical center and prove you have the skill sets to do it because you haven't done one in 5 years. So the problem I see is untrained people that won't integrate or work with other specialties. And that, by the way, is not just medical doctors. It's chiropractors, nurse practitioners. All these people out there think that their bailiwick of their few little things that they do are going to cure somebody. When they don't, they think that they're just bad patients. No, they could have piss-poor protoplasm, or they may need a whole integrative model with everything from deep tissue massage to hyperbaric oxygen to the right nutrients to diet to the right kind of exercise to everything. It's not just one thing. It's a whole integrative environment that has to envelop them internally and externally. That's why when I tease Karen down about Mountain Red Velvet, I said, a lot of people spend a lot of money on makeup, but they don't spend much money on make-in, which is how to build you from the inside out. So you want to look good, you got to look good from the inside, where you actually are using, like this older lady in her 70s, 77, wanted to have some nutraceuticals to make her skin look good. Well, we're not just going to recommend DHEA, pregnenolone, and curcumin cream. We're going to tell them to take Collagen Max, take, Mountain Red Velvet, take the Nutrimed's Raw Jelly, take all these nutraceuticals that are going to support your collagen production, like Minerals Plus and Vitamineral Max, so you have all the right nutrients, and take omega fatty acids. That has the fatty acids that are going to build nice, healthy-looking skin with non-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids. That's why, for example, we talk about nuts. The best nuts out there are pistachios and walnuts and macadamia nuts that are anti-inflammatory. The worst are peanuts and cashews because they have high levels of omega-6 fatty acids that are pro-inflammatory. Do most people know this? Of course not. They don't know that, do they? So, Ryan, what's your next favorite? What's your next favorite Nutrimed, Ryan?
Well, Dr. Bell, I think that the Nutrimune is a really great one to think about, too, for people that have done probiotics and the AminoMax. Either one of these formulations, right, Dr. Bell? We were talking about the bioactive immunoglobulins.
Yeah.
This is a different way. So people are thinking about gut health and leaky gut. This is a different way to attack the situation because as we spend more time being ill or inflamed in nature, we're going to get more and more greater leaky gut. And so we use things like probiotic, or we go through the digestive process like I talked about, but some people really do need the direct support of the bioactive immunoglobulins.
Right.
And what these can do is basically work as a surrogate for your own body's immunoglobulin production in the gut to neutralize viruses, bacteria, environmentals, allergens, and food allergens. So you've got this major onslaught of things coming at you, and the guards that are supposed to be there over time have basically left. They're on the inside of the body working as hard as they can to keep you under control and so that you don't die. But unfortunately, the border's left wide open.
Yeah.
So by bringing in these formulations like Nutrimune and AminoMax, they provide this relief. And so these people that are constantly getting worn down and exhausted because their immune system is always being triggered and activated, this is a really good step.
Yeah.
So, if people are already out there doing a lot of these things but have not added the bioactive immunoglobulins.
Right. Well, by the way,
really
we don't use the AminoMax powder. It's in the ageless. And we use Nutrimune and the ageless, which has the immunoglobulin powder in it. That's why we call it ageless, because it's going to have the things for your telomeres. It's going to have the immunoglobulins. It's going to have the things to repair your DNA. It's going to have the sulforaphane glycosinolate that's in our malignant block. So you age less if you drink it. That's what we call ageless. So that's really cool.
Less.
Ageless, yeah.
These shakes, again, very powerful opportunity there. So when people do have that weakened immune system, they want to know which is the right shake. Ageless is it. Moving into the other shakes, especially with here comes the new year, right? And going, I'd like to lose weight. I want to be healthier. Glycemic meal is going to be a very powerful one for a lot of individuals. That weight management and blood sugar regulation is kind of top of the list. And then life support. I really love the name of this formulation because when you're sort of on that I need life support, level, this one comes at it from so many different angles.
It's like the ICU.
That it really is. It's like
ICU,
the crash
right?
cart.
Yeah.
It's like rolling the crash cart in and saying, okay, well, what do I need to do? You're like, we need to full jumpstart this guy again. And so life support is a shake that's coming at it from many different angles to work on the leaky gut, to work on the inflammatory process, to balance out hormones, to work on blood sugar, to help with weight loss. It really, the list goes on and on and on. And it's really one of the most comprehensive shakes, if not the most comprehensive shake that's ever been developed in the industry. And its taste, all of these shakes, the taste are phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have any bitterness or weirdness to them. They also are very smooth. The mouthfeel behind them is great.
Even the professional shakes from other companies, I'm not even going to mention their names, they're gross. The nicest thing I can say is, oh my God, I hope they're beneficial, at least inadvertently, but my God, they're bad. You can't get better. It's almost like looking at a treadmill. You can't get better by staring at the treadmill and thinking you might want to exercise someday. It has to be something that's fun. That's why, for example, trampoline's good. Or if you like our mild hyperbaric oxygen, it's fun to go in it. You relax. If you take nutraceuticals that taste great and there's a meal substitute, you go, wow, I like this. I mix up a big blender of it and I give it to myself and my daughter called our syrup. And it contains all these main drinks. NutriComplete, Ageless, Life Support, Glycemics. And I add some oils to the liquid. And when you take the stuff, you feel like, whoa, I can do the day. And that often is my breakfast. I take 5 ounces. I might have a small piece of cheese, and that's it. I'm off to the races. Or I might have some kefir yogurt, which is what they call lebne, with a small piece of multi-grain, say, flax bread. And that's it. That's breakfast. The neat thing about this is that the drinks are going to keep your blood sugar stable. They're going to get your nutrients in there. They're going to support your mitochondria. They're going to stop free radicals. They're not going to put your heart and vessels under extreme stress. They're not going to be promoting inflammation. They're going to repair your DNA. They're going to protect you from cancer cell transformation. They're going to report and support proper digestion and stop leaky gut. So if you do these things on a regular basis, the body says, thank you. It gives you what I call the nutritional high five, or I call the nutritional fist bump. Hey, thanks. Thanks, guy. You're not killing me today. Because a lot of time when people are eating regularly, it's like, you're killing me. As soon as you go down there, it's one big lump. You're killing me. Something really hot with really poor nutrient value. It's big and maybe heavy metals in it and God knows what. It's incomplete, doesn't have activated nutrients in your regular dinner. Now, Omega Supreme and our new product we're going to be launching here shortly, Omega Pro, the monoglyceride. Let's talk about our lady with the skin issues. If she wants great-looking skin, she needs to have pro-anti-inflammatory fatty acids in her diet, healthy arteries, and so on. The Omega Supreme is very powerful. Let's talk about that for a moment. And, of course, the Omega Supreme Krill has 2,000 micrograms of astaxanthin compared to Omega Reds, which they advertise all over the place, is only 17 versus our 2,000. This is an amazing formula for your eyes and brain and vessels. And, of course, Omega Cod Liver Liquid has vitamin E, D, E, and K, and will actually lower your cholesterol equivalent to the HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors without the horrifying rhabdomyolysis and anti-mitochondrial effects of these toxic drugs. So let's talk about Omega Supreme and these others for a moment.
Well, you got to build things out of the right substances, just like your house. You're going to have bricks and mortar, and you're going to use doors, you're going to use windows. You got to have all the right components, otherwise you just don't get a house. It's got to be built right. And so what happens in the American diet is we eat foods that give us fats that are supposed to make up the structure of our cells, but unfortunately we usually eat them from sources that they're either way off balance, like we got way too many bricks and we have very little windows. That's the best analogy when we're talking about the fish oil. So Omega Supreme really supplies more of the windows, if you will, that the cells need, and in a healthy way, because most fish oils out there are not really tested very efficiently, Dr. Bill, for heavy metals, PCBs, anisotine values, radiation testing, the deeper issues of what's going on, so that you make sure that you're not just taking a product that could be good for you, but at the same time you don't want something to be having a small toxic effect that's constantly bombarding your body. So you want these really clean ones like you get with Omega Supreme, and so you can use that to rebuild and restructure the cells. And so like JAMA published about, looking for people that you want to prevent heart attacks, which is top of the mind with some of these people having problems, health issues, and dying, is 8% or above cell membrane. Well, most Americans are probably at 4%, meaning you should have 8% of your house have windows. Most of you people listening have 4% windows. And what does that mean? Much more likely chance of inflammatory issues and possibly things like cardiovascular disease, atrial fibrillations.
Yeah, Barry Sears, who we had on the program a few years ago, said that the ratio is even much worse than that. But, the number's out of sight. In other words, pro-inflammatory fatty acids in their diet. And that's not good.
No, that is not good. And so we get basically, people wonder why we're constantly inflamed or how much smoke is in our house. And this is one of those fundamental reasons we don't have the house built out of the right materials. You brought up Omega Supreme Krill. I think that's a good example to look at, just, again, comparing to what's available to the typical consumer. They're going to go buy something like Mega Red or whatever because they're like, well, it's small and cute and it looks like it says it does something. The fact is, it's virtually worthless for what it can deliver, like the astaxanthin, as you're talking about, 17 micrograms. And that's at time of manufacturing on the label, meaning they even warn you it may not even have that in it, which is microscopic. Whereas Omega Supreme Krill, you're talking 1,000 mics per capsule, guaranteed at expiration. Two totally different scenarios with regards to the quality in which you can get for over-the-counter products and what you can get through Dr. Bill and Nutrimedical. And so that's a story that goes on and on over and over again about the bioavailability of nutrients, that the nutrients actually have what they have in them to make an impact on your body, and that you're not just wasting your money. So, again, I encourage you to obviously not just listen to Dr. Bill, but support him through using the Nutrimedical line of products.
Yeah, no, this works in every tissue in the body: brain, heart, blood vessels, solid organs. Most diseases are pro-inflammatory. Again, the underlying thing is any diseases: inflammation, hypoxia, acidosis, free radicals, and genetic and/or cell membrane changes. That's it. That's a summary of what disease is. Whether it's a stealth pathogen, heavy metal toxin, an abnormal metabolite, or cross-linked proteins like with sugar, cross-linked with glycosylated proteins. So it's all very important. A couple of other nutraceuticals I'm just going to throw in here. We have, of course, the DHEA, pregnenolone, femgestrone, or progesterone, and now our testo cream. These are all actually, testo cream is herbal and will support